Hello, everyone. We're the Anime Sickos. Blow, blow. I'm Tom Harrison. I'm an anime sicko.
Joe Anderson, also that way. I won't say it.
You gotta say it. It's our trademark.
I also am a sicko.
Yeah! Now... I wanted it to happen, but now that it did, it just feels dirty and awful.
It was coercive.
Yeah. I didn't get enthusiastic consent for the sicko.
This is an episode that has been a long time in the making.
Yeah, Joe, what are we talking about?
We are doing the long-awaited Hunter x Hunter episode, which we also want to talk about, obviously, the show, which is insane.
Yeah. It is, holy shit, to be clear, an anime. Hence why we're in sicko mode right now. And, like, it is well worth at least an hour of discussion. Probably more, but that's what we're giving it.
And the other aspect of it, which applies to a lot of manga and anime, is that the guy who writes this, Togashi, his life was put through the meat grinder to make this. And he's not unique in that way.
He's a living dead. He's a shamble man who's basically not alive.
And his struggles aren't unique. This is pretty standard for the industry, unfortunately. At the end of this, toward the end, we want to talk about the labor conditions for this, because, man, oh man, the thing I like to think about it is, like, you know when you hate Marvel and you yell at Marvel, you're yelling at Disney, right? You're yelling at, like, the largest corporation on the planet almost. For sure. When you yell about Hunter x Hunter, a Japanese man tied to his desk hears you, and he gets very sad. Like, he for sure reads every letter.
Oh yeah, when a Japanese man tied to his desk is unable to draw the manga because his back hurts so much that he literally can't think, the only thought that goes through his brain, a fucking sort of cauldron of boiling pain, the only thought that goes through it is, I'm disappointing my fans by missing the deadline.
There's a really depressing letter I think we'll read later.
We will.
Togashi is also the guy who did Yu Hakusho, and the letter we will read is him talking about the end of that series. And basically it's my life. I am Hellraiser. I've been tortured in the puzzle cube. I cannot ever find joy, but I also disappoint my fans. I hate my life, but I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I had the lament configuration. I should have let it be, but now a big man is poking me with a huge stick, and I have a bunch of needles in me. Anyway, I can't draw the anime anymore. Please don't send a hitman to kill me.
So... let's get started. Before we had said Mob Psycho 100 is like a show that people who don't watch anime should watch it because it transcends anime.
It's truly one of the best shows, not just recently, but like I've ever seen.
Hunter x Hunter is definitely anime. It does not transcend it, but it is probably it's the highest achievement of it, in my opinion. There's so much going on, and it's like there's so many anime tropes that like people make fun of, and it's like, this is why I don't like anime, it keeps me away, why do they do this? Hunter x Hunter is like, this is why they do this. Like, this is it done good. Yeah, this makes it worthwhile. This makes it worth having a disgusting hobby that brings you shame daily.
You call yourself a sicko sort of as a joke, but as you watch it, and as you see the sort of shit you're shoveling into your brain on your few remaining hours on an earth that can sustain human life, you're like, I am a sicko.
Yeah.
This is not okay. But Hunter x Hunter is like the sweet treat that like you get. You put your hand into a bear trap 1,000 times and it's just a little mangled nub. But like one time you get the treaty out in time and it's the best.
My neo-grandchildren will ask me, what did you do when there were still fish? And I'll be like, well, I mostly watch Hunter x Hunter.
And they'll be like, damn, my neo-grandpa knew what was up.
Yeah, because he had excellent taste.
Of course. So, Joe, I think it's about time that we talked about what Hunter x Hunter is. And something that I would like to mention before we get into the summary is that summarizing Hunter x Hunter is fucking impossible.
It's dumb. If you paid someone who does Spark Notes to try to do one for this, they'd die. They would burst into flames.
they would just like turn to dust halfway through. There's like a hidden limit, like an upper limit for the amount of words a human being can type, and they would like accidentally hit it, and it's never been done before.
Yeah, they would look like the skeleton that grabs onto the chain link fence in Terminator as it gets nuked or whatever. Yeah, that's what you would become.
Like my niece is into anime. She's like 12 and likes anime, which is to say,
huge error. You fucked up.
I was going to say that this is the greatest her life will ever be, because this is the perfect time to watch anime, and people aren't like, you're a fucking sicko. This is the normal time to look at it. She was asking, like, what's an anime to watch? And I'm like, oh, you know what's really good is Hunter x Hunter. And she was like, oh, what is that about? And I'm just like, fuck, the pitch is ruined. It won't work, because there's no answer. Like, the answer is like, well, it's about a bunch of guys who kind of go around.
Yeah, Tom and I tried to commit words to a summary, and I think we're just going to read it. It's the best way we can handle it, because it forced us to concretely sort of pin down what it was. So do you want to just like switch off paragraphs of the ones we wrote, or how do you want to handle this?
Yeah, let's do that. You start off.
Okay, let me bring it up. All right, I will begin. First of all, are you supposed to say the X? Is it Hunter x Hunter? Or am
You're not supposed to say the X, but I refuse to play the fucking Island Pervert's little game. I say the X every time because I'm looking at it with my damn eyes, and there's an X. This is how I'm going to
say it too, then. I'm going to be an ally to you. All right.
Thank you. It's like how I call Luffy Luffy when like it is 1,000% Luffy. Too bad, bitch.
It's the bravest thing you've done. All right, so Hunter x Hunter is about a boy named Gon who wears hot pants, and he goes to get his hunter license so that he can follow in the footsteps of his deadbeat dad, who went out for cigarettes and never came back.
And imagine like you're growing up as an orphan boy, and you're just like asking your foster mom, like, Mom, like, where's my dad? Like, how could other kids have a dad? Where's my dad? And imagine like she, with tears in her eyes, that it's finally time to drop this horrible news. It's like, I'm afraid he went out to get cigarettes and he never came back. He abandoned you. And imagine that this child in these goddamn green capris is like, wow, cigarettes must fucking rule.
Yeah, and also the only way Gon's design could be better is if it was all denim. But he just is wearing just like he's making a suit out of windbreaker.
Yeah. He has these fucking like knee length boots that are green. He has his green hot pants, and he has like a green jacket. All the same shade. It is incredible. But anyway, continuing on. A hunter license, a license that makes you a capital H hunter, which is what Gon wants to be, basically makes you this extra legal superhero person who can just kind of like do whatever. You can like become a bounty hunter. You can search for like relics and lore. But here's the thing. They'll give a hunter license to literally fucking anyone who passes the test. So if you're like a weird murder clown who's just like, I would love to have a hunter license so I can murder people and not go to jail, they'll do it.
Yeah, they for sure. The Hunter Association is an amoral organization. It is just, hey, this is going to get real goofy.
It's like, you think to yourself like, okay, the Hunter Association, they must be licensing these people because there's some sort of need that the world needs these strong and capable people to protect them.
Which is true, kind of, except only a small fraction of hunters are filling that good people need. Or again, like, I don't know, 3/4 of them are just like, I really love to be in the mob.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there's some of them is just like, you know what I love is fish, so I'm going to go look at fish all the time. By the way, I have a hunter's license.
There's gourmet hunters. Gourmet hunters, people who live to cook and eat good food.
Holy shit. Like, I see that and I feel seen. It's incredible. Yeah. I want to be a gourmet hunter so bad. Anyway, continuing.
Okay. The anime has a power system called Nen, which doesn't show up for like 80 episodes. So
it's true.
The first 40 episodes are about a freaks taking the hunter exam so they can essentially get a good job.
It pretty much is just that. Because like you don't get assigned, and it's not even a job actually, because you almost never get like a sign.
No, it's a crime pass. You get a crime pass.
Yes, you just get like the hunter's license is like a infinite money credit card, so you can just sort of like buy whatever, and like you're able to like get into places and do things that would be illegal before. And you don't have any responsibilities.
Right, and you can like access crime eBay on your computer after you get a license. Like you get the super internet, which is for like underground stuff. You just have access to that now.
Yeah, it's fucking incredible. So you're hearing about a hunter, this job that's hyped up as some sort of like ultra competent treasure hunter / monster slayer, a license that can only be obtained by the true pinnacle of humanity. Here's the thing, like almost literally zero treasures or monsters are on screen ever. And the main character, Gon, once he gets his hunter's license, he immediately like sells it for fucking beer money because hunters are actually fucking wimps, and it's not actually important at all to be a hunter.
It's the torching. You spend I don't know how many hours of content building this exam up, and then to just piss it away so you can get, I think, $40 to get a bus pass. I don't remember what he sells it for.
He sells it to, like, buy this magical video game they need. We'll get to it later. And, like, it's not enough, and they can't buy it. But it turns out they didn't need to buy it. They just needed to ask the guy who did buy it, can we play the game? And he's like, yeah.
So,
but anyway, to be clear, like one of the other main characters who fails the hunter's test on the first arc, which is like, again, like a 50 episode arc. So you're like, man, the hunter's test is crazy. Later on, once they like are strong, he realizes offhand, he's like, oh shit, I guess I technically can't do this thing we're about to do because I don't have a hunter's license. Let me pop out to an errand and pick one up. And he like gets it in fucking 2 seconds. Like when I mentioned this to you earlier, you assumed that it happened off screen. No, it happens on screen. It just is like literally a minute of elapsed time.
Yeah, it shows him doing all the parts of the exam, but just like kicking everyone's ass, and it's over in 2 seconds. It's incredible. And this is probably worth mentioning who Gon's best friend and husband is at this point.
Yeah. So when we get to the hunter exam, the first person that Gon meets is not his friend. The first person he meets is a fat nerd who tries to give him diarrhea.
Yeah, because obviously all the people about to take this hunter exam want each other to fail so they can succeed. So this guy's plan is, well, I'm going to give you tainted cola that gives you the runs. And Gon, being a child in short shorts, is like, yes, I will drink the cola from the strange man.
Mm-hmm. And someone is like, yo, just so you know, that guy's trying to give you diarrhea. Don't drink the cola. And he's like, oh, man, thank you so much. I would have looked like a goddamned fool. And then we turn around and we see a child. We are introduced to a child who cannot get diarrhea. He is chugging these cans down like no one's business. And Gon is like, dude, you're going to get diarrhea. And he's like, I know, I tasted the diarrhea poison, but I don't care because I can't get diarrhea. Who is this, Joe?
This child is Killua, who the reason he can drink poison is he comes from a family of goths. And they're all assassins, so he grew up being basically tortured and poisoned so he could become the perfect assassin. I think he's like, 10 at this point? So anyway, this kid's been drinking poison and diarrhea medicine and diarrhea since he's been like 4. So he actually likes the taste of it, and it makes him stronger.
Yeah, his BMs are exclusively solid and fibrous and come out like dreams.
They are no wipers every time.
We're not actually shown this, but the subtext is clear.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the thing about Killua and Gon is that they are married. They are husband and husband. They are in love, like incredibly. And that's not us being facetious. Like there are moments where like Killua looks at Gon and like the screen goes gauzy and like
it's like they love each other.
Yeah, shining lights appear around his face and he like starts to cry and he's like, Gon, I never knew that I could experience light, like the light inside of you. And it's like, oh, they're in love. That's cute.
Yeah. So there's also 2 other main characters.
Which is a very generous assessment of what they are. They are like on the like all the promotional art. Like whenever you see a Hunter x Hunter image, there's going to be 4 guys. There's going to be Gon and Killua, the main characters, and then 2 fucking randos who are barely in it.
The first one is Kurapika, who is a blonde person who wears a smock, who wears a wrestling tunic. And it's later revealed that he's from like a rare tribe that we'll get into, I'm sure. And the other person is Liario. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Liario, who is what we would call a fucking king pervert who sucks ass and yells constantly and has no skills.
Yeah, and his dream is to be a doctor, which you don't really need a Hunter exam to be, but he needs money, and he is correct in assuming a crime pass will let him afford medical school. That is just objectively true. He's actually probably the most grounded character in the series.
Yeah, and I fucking love how this is a world where, like, you can be, like, a magic superhero, like, genius who has a past to do all murder, and even in this crazy world where there's also like actual magic and like strange monsters that may show up, going to medical school is still like, oh bitch, you better be rich because you can't get into this place.
It's very real.
Can't do it.
It's not pulling any punches.
So they suck ass. But no, actually only Liario sucks ass. But they meet up with Gon and Killua. They all become friends because they're good people. But they also meet a 5th main character, Hisoka, a gay clown who loves murder.
It's not even that he's a gay. First of all, yeah, he's supposed to be a magician, right? But he's dressed like a clown. So first of all, from the jump, not great design, because it's like, you know when you go to a magic show and the guy saws a lady in half, but he also has horrifying face paint, and he's constantly talking about murder. That's what a magician is.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he keeps getting introduced as Hisoka the magician, and I'm just like, when the fuck did you ever do, like, a stage show, my man? Like, you don't get to just call yourself that, because literally the only thing we ever see Hisoka doing is sort of, like, get his dick hard at the thought of killing a strong opponent. And, like, that's just what he does. And, again, to be clear, he's dressed like a clown.
Yeah, and his fascination with Gon specifically is that he recognizes that Gon will be strong. He's not strong right now because he's 10 years old and he looks like a dumb child. But he recognizes that he'll be strong, and he's like, when he's strong, I will murder him, and then obviously reach sexual satisfaction. And this isn't subtext. He's like pretty much like, there's a point in the Hunter exam where like he realizes
gets a boner on screen.
Yeah, he's like, they're going to be strong. I'm having a boner right now. I'm just having one.
And you're probably thinking, listening to this, like, oh shit, okay, so Hisoka, he's super strong, and he is sort of like, Gon is sort of my pet project. He is like a little budding flower, and then once like he bears a ripe fruit, I will fuck the fruit. You're thinking like, this is obviously our villain. No, fucking no. Not at all.
Kind of, but not in a meaningful way. He's just this guy.
Hisoka is just around, and like he doesn't like do anything important. He just kind of is there and is just sort of like smirking.
Yep, he's the local pervert.
Anyway, so we get to the end of the Hunter exam, and fucking everyone gets the Hunter license except for Killua, because, surprise, his evil assassin brother used magic powers to brainwash him into being disqualified. Yeah. Whoa, oopsie.
Also, the reason he got disqualified is he murdered someone. You gotta fight people without killing them, so he just kills a guy.
I also want to make this clear now that Hunter x Hunter, like, the design of Gon is he is, like, the cutesiest and, like, sweetest little guy. And he's like, oh, boy, I can't wait to be a hunter. And all of the music is, like, bouncy clown music. It's like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And you're like, oh, this is a fun adventure show. There are people fucking dying by the dozens in the Hunter exam, and no one stops to mourn.
One of the most gruesome kills, which is when I really felt the tone of the show sort of go off the rails, is there's a part where they have to fight or confront prisoners who are dangerous, and one of them is like this serial murderer who's like grip is very strong. Like on the way out to fight, you see him running his hands along a brick wall and just like digging divots into it with just his finger strength.
And then like they do a cutaway flashback and like explain all the serial killing he's done, and it's like he is the worst serial killer in the history of the world. Like he killed like 1,000 cops trying to bring him in.
Yeah, he ate a school bus full of kids. Like he did everything bad. And Killua fights him, and he kills him instantly, and not only does he kill him, he rips his heart out and hands it to him in a bag.
It's so good because like we're all sort of hyped up for a very dope battle, and it's just like no, you thought you were gonna get a fight. No, what you're gonna get is a heart in a bag. 2 seconds after the introduction was over.
Yeah, and I think that's where he establishes that he can make knife hands. And then, like, Gon's like, wow, that's crazy. And he's like, yeah, my family makes me have knife hands.
And he's like, oh boy, I have such a great time being friends with you. Gon truly doesn't give a shit about seeing people literally killed in front of him. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's a true child.
This is where Leorio also becomes the worst character in the show. Now, a lot of people like him because, like, although he's sort of a brash asshole, he's very loyal to his friends and always sort of does the right thing for them and is always there for them. And by I say always there for them, I mean in, like, the 5 fucking episodes that he's actually on screen. So part of this test is that they have to like get to a certain place before a time limit runs out, and this one criminal is like, oh, I'm a gambler, so I'm going to gamble your time for your time limit, and if you can beat me in gambling, then you'll have more time to get to the end of the test. And Leorio's like, I'm going to gamble, and she's like, my gamble is that I'm a girl. And he's like, what? Huh? How could I prove that? And she's like, you can look at my titties and touch my vagoo. And he's like, I'm gonna do that. And he just does it in front of everyone and wastes like 50 of their hours. And I'm like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. This is not a lovable pervert. This is like a fucking
criminal pervert.
Yeah, this is King Pervert. He should go to jail. I hate that Gon had to see this. Gon, my perfect boy.
And it doesn't matter because after he gets the hunter license, he just is like, I'm going to go a doctor now. I'm going to just think about my sexual assault somewhere else.
Yep. I'm going to be off screen constantly. Bye. Because the next thing that happens is Killua is brought home to his family. They are mad that he made a friend instead of murdering, and so they torture him, except he actually can leave at any time, which is incredible because all of his friends spend like 3 years trying extremely hard to like gain the strength to break into the compound, and when they get in, he's in like chains and he's just like, oh, you guys, and he just fucking breaks them off like nothing. He's like, I'm going now, and all of his family is like, nah, okay.
Yeah, it's like a weird like kinky Addams family. I hate it. His family is awful.
His second oldest brother is just like a fucking otaku who has big titty figurines constantly and like doesn't ever do any assassinating and is just constantly watching anime on his computer.
Oh, he's also whipping Killua when he's chained up.
Yeah, and then like when Killua breaks out and reveals that this actually didn't hurt at all to him. This actually was normal to him and fine. And he gets all mad and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna play video games now."
Yep.
He rules. Like, I love that guy.
He becomes, like, these little moments where he's useful, because whenever it's, like, computer-related stuff, don't they, like, tap him a little bit? He's
they
not
just call
completely
him
out
up.
of it. He becomes useful.
I mean, like, he's as useful as anyone that you know who knows a lot about computers is. If you're just like, hey, which motherboard should I get? Then he'll know. But anyway, after that is the Heavens Arena arc.
This rules. So here's the deal. We said Nen doesn't show up for like 80 episodes. That's true. This is when Nen is introduced. And it's sort of implied that the Hunter exam, the purpose it really serves, is to show that you are worth and capable of learning about Nen. Which also doesn't make sense because there were people in the Hunter exam with Gon and Killua who just fucking have powers. Like, you don't need to do the exam to be have murder magic. Hisoka, the murder clown, definitely knew how to do it.
Yeah, he had Nen that he had fucking mastered, and he was just already in the he was in the exam anyway. No one told him like, buddy, You don't have to do it. You already got to the top. You got the power. It's incredible because, like, to explain Heaven's Arena, it's this huge fucking tower that is 250 stories tall. And on every tower, there's martial arts battles of increasing skill. So on level 1, you have, like, 2 babies, like, trying to stand up. And, like, one of them falls onto the other. And, like, apparently this is, like, the pinnacle of, like, the world economy because every floor is fucking packed with people who are betting on these fights. And Killua is like, oh, I know all about this place because my family dropped me off here when I was 3 and was like, don't come back until you've won $100 million. And I got up to floor 200, made $100 million, and immediately left. So, like, let's do this, my man. And so they like fucking fight children who like went to karate practice and kicked their ass.
Also, if you're watching the babies fight, you clearly don't know that like 200 floors up, there's guys who can throw fire and turn into a dragon.
Yeah, there's like a guy who can make 2 of himself and another guy who like can control little metal tops and you can like shear your skin off by hitting them in your face. Like it's if you're watching the people who are like doing the elements of judo on each other, you're a fucking mark.
There's MMA practice on the first floor, is what it is. It's MMA for babies, and that's all it is. And
then you get if you go to floor 200, you can watch a clown use his own severed arms to like beat a man to death.
And it rules. Like you should absolutely be up there. Don't watch the babies, watch the clown guy.
Yeah, because we get to the floor 200, Gon and Killua get off being like, hell yeah, we're at the top floor, time to make some real money now. And, yo, all the homies who be there be purple. Oh, no. They're shooting out their Nen. And this is our introduction to Nen. And the thing about Nen is that it is one of the greatest power systems in any fiction because it's so fucking stupid, and I love it.
It's stupid, but it has an internal logic. So, how do you want to handle this explanation?
So, if you know about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the powers are stands, which are these sort of physical manifestations of your fighting energy, and they're sort of these like invisible ghosts that have like tactile, like they're like physically there, but you can only see them if you have a stand. Otherwise, they're invisible. And they can like interact with the world, and they can have special powers. And there are certain rules, but the rules are all fucking broken. None of the rules are actually rules in the sense that you would understand a rule to be. It's just whatever the fuck one special power the author wants to give to a weird guy wearing a mesh shirt. That's a stando. Whatever, fine. Nen is sort of like the mirror image, like the yin to the yang of stands. Whereas stands have no rules and they're constantly broken, Nen has an ever-expanding and infinite amount of rules. Like the short version is you have an aura inside of you that is your power, and if you learn to harness it, you can be really good at kicking ass.
Right.
What it is.
And Nen powers fall into, like, I think there's 6 categories.
Yeah.
We don't really need to go through them, but, like, you could be, say, an enhancer, which is the ability to use your aura to reinforce your body. You can be emitter, which is, like, to generally project your aura. There's
to shoot beams and shit.
Yeah, and then there's the transmuter, which I think is, like, probably the more interesting one. This is what Hisoka, the killer clown, has, which is your ability to change the properties of your aura and to give them weird physical properties. His power, which I want to preface this with, is fucking dumb as shit, but it rules.
It's one of the strongest powers in the show. He fucking just slays everyone he goes against. Like they're dumb baby bitches, and he's the genius.
Yeah, and his ability, and I feel dumb about to say these words.
Say it. His
power is called Bungee Gum.
Bungee Gum!
Basically...
Ooh, what are the properties of Bungee Gum?
He can make his aura sticky.
Like gum,
but also stretchy like a bungee cord. And you think, like, well, that's like kind of cool. I don't see how it murders people. Buddy, he uses it to kill so many people.
In so many ways. It's incredible. Like, there's one fight that he has where, spoiler alert, he has like a friend in the backstage who can reattach severed arms. So he allows himself to have his arms severed, and then like attaches one of his arms to the ceiling when people aren't looking, and then he like attaches the other arm back to the stump so it looks like he magically healed, and everyone's like, oh. And then like later, the arm on the ceiling, he like shoots out a second string of bungee gum and like yanks it off the ceiling and punches the guy in the face with it. And it's like, where'd that arm come from? Hisoka, the magician. And I'm like, is this how he got the magician nickname? I would say that Hisoka the clown who murders people with arms. But I don't know. What do I know? It's fucking incredible.
Yeah, and he also has playing cards that are sharp like knives that he's just cutting throats with.
Yeah. It's like, Nen is so fucking ridiculous because there's so many, there is of course the ability to use your Nen for ridiculous powers like bungee gum, but like you can also put all your Nen into your eyes so that you can see things that are invisible, or you can like put your Nen all around you and it becomes armor, or you can like shoot all your Nen out really hard and like make people fall down because you're too cool, or you can turn all your Nen off and then people who also have Nen can't see you. You're just like, you're invisible to them. And it's like, I bet that's all. No, you can combine them in weird ways and it never fucking ends, and the rules are always consistent except for
there's a class of Nen user which is just called Specialist, which means crazy goofy time.
It just means like whatever the fuck. I thought of a power I wanted to give someone.
Yeah, basically he came up with this very complicated rule set, and then he decided that, I actually want a lady to be able to make a vacuum out of her brain power.
Yeah, I would love a big titty goth GF to make a vacuum that can eat people.
Yeah, and like the trick for that is you could just be like, it's a specialist, which falls out of the normal rules. It doesn't apply.
Which is like the audacity to spend all this time, and I want to make clear time. Like there are at least 10 episodes devoted entirely to explaining the rules of Nen, and you're just like, okay, I've passed the test. I did my homework. I know about Nen. And then it's like, but by the way, whoa, you didn't think of this one coming.
The other thing that is really a feature of this show is that there is a disembodied narrator explaining shit. Like, there are periods where, like, when they introduced Nen, I feel like there was this might just be my memory mushing everything together, but I feel like there was, like, basically David Attenborough talking about Nen for 20 minutes this episode. Like, basically, like, there was no one in it. It was just him explaining Nen. And this is...
Holy shit, yeah.
This is, like, this weird thing that Tagashi does, and it's even weirder in the manga because you'll be reading a comic, and then you go to a page, and it's just, like, a dissertation, and
it's a page of a book.
Yes, and it's like very dense and strange, and it's kind of jarring, but he's just like this guy that has to have this level of detail, or otherwise he'll die.
Like, I want to be clear, Nen is the best shit in the universe, and like, I'm so glad that there's this much detail.
Yes, yeah.
But like the first time that we actually see a real Nen battle, like Gon and Killua have learned Nen to the point where like they can have aura shoot out of them and it makes them like a little bit stronger. They don't have magical powers yet. So the first time we see Nen used by people who actually can do it is Hisoka is in the Heaven's Arena and he fucking kills this dude. And that takes an entire episode. And then the next episode, and I'm not fucking kidding, is him backstage with the person sewing his arms back on, where they literally explain all of the tactical decisions that he made in the previous fight. Each time they talk over one, they cut to the fight and show what we saw before, but in slower motion so we actually understand. And I'm like, is this going to be the whole episode? Buddy, yes. Like, fucking yes.
This narrative tactic should be excruciating and painful. It should actually enrage you, but it fucking rules when it does. I love it.
Anyway, this is the Heaven's Arena arc. They learn Nen. It's fine. So we go to the next one, which is Kurapika, who has been off screen this whole time, is like, I have to go to York New City, which, amazing name, because that's where the criminal gang that I hate is, and I have to murder them because he is the member of this sort of race that has special eyes that turn red when they have strong emotions, and there's this gang of fucking goth criminals who literally murdered every single one of them except for him so that they could sell the eyes and get some money. And so he's like the reason I got the hunter license is so that I can murder all of them and not go to jail. And he's like, I know they're going to be in York New City. Gon and Killua are there also to buy a video game. It's not relevant. They're not really in this part. Kurapika is going to murder the criminals. He is very, very determined to murder the criminals. And then, like, 40 episodes later, he's like, what's the point of murdering them? I don't really feel like it. And amazing.
Yeah, and the thing that really resonates with the world of Hunter x Hunter in this arc is it establishes that the world is run by insane plutocrats with just disgusting consumption habits. There is just huge crime bosses that basically would like to collect a bunch of severed eyes from a long-dead race because it looks cool on their shelf.
Yep, and also it's like this group of villains that are like the antagonists for this arc. So it's an anime tradition to have a group of scary villains that are sort of in a little alliance that all have special powers and are very scary and evil. The thing about the Phantom Troop is that they are just kind of like weird roommates who just chill.
And they're presented initially as the bad guys.
Yeah.
That title goes away, and they just become homies that have fun adventures in a dumpster. Like they're all from a place called Meteor City, which, and I'm not exaggerating, is literally a pile of trash. They live
It's incredible.
Like it's like this crime pile. Like they're all hard criminals because they all grew up in the dump.
Yeah, and like this dump doesn't have any there's no record of anyone born there, so like anyone there is a ghost.
Right. Yeah, you're off the grid completely to live in it's a pile of trash.
It's a trash town. And this is another thing about Hunter x Hunter's world that I love, is that like it's so weird and different than like the real world. Like there's these hunters that apparently everyone knows about. There's a big arena where you watch fighting and bet on it, and it's like you can make like legitimately $200 million just fighting for a day. I'm like, how strange. How weird. And at one point, like, Gon is like, I need to buy a cell phone. And so he goes to this, like, stall that is selling electronics on the street. He's like, this is the best phone for a hunter. And he gives Gon this big, chunky motherfucking thing that looks like a rhinoceros beetle.
Yeah.
And, like, is the size of, like, a fucking honeydew. And he's like, this is your cell phone. He's like, awesome. I love this. And you're like, okay, so in this world, this is the kind of electronics there are. Fucking no! Literally everyone else uses iPhones.
And it's hard to articulate this because we're bringing up all these weird aspects of it, and you might think like, how everyone in the world must know about all these weird things. How could Gon not understand this? And that's because he's a dumb baby. Everyone but him understands everything. Everyone knows there's a murder tower where you see cool guys fight. Everyone knows that the mob runs everything. People are so whatever about collecting eyes in a jar. He's a dumb baby. And the funny thing is Killua also knows this and just like doesn't tell him anything because he just wants to be with his husband.
Yeah. Like, legitimately, like, they ask him at the beginning, like, why are you at the hunter exam? Like, what's the purpose of you, Killua, getting a hunter's license? He's like, oh, I don't actually give a shit. I'm just here for fun because I was bored, and it seemed like a thing to do. And he doesn't go back to being an assassin because he's like, I don't really like being an assassin. I'm just going to stick around and be your homie, Gon. And, like, legitimately, he never gets another motivation other than, like, Gon is my homie, and this, like, I like hanging out. It's incredible. And there's, like, even one part where Killua is about to do something rash and, like, risky, and Gon is like, how dare you even broach that? Like, you can't do that. And he's like, what are you talking about? You do that shit all the time. And Gon literally says, like, yeah, it's my job to be stupid. It's your job to make sure I don't die.
Yeah, they're married.
They really are. Like, you know, there was that meme a while ago where people were like, what is your favorite ship dynamic? And it would be like, people would like draw little cartoons of the ships that they like.
Yeah.
My wife asked me, like, what's your answer to that? And I'm like, oh, it's Gon and Killua. Like, they are so cute together. They're the most beautiful husbands.
Yeah, it's touching.
Anyways, so these criminals, they fucking like attack the mob. There are a bunch of weird mob hitmen who have nen that are like these fucking disgusting freaks, and they all get killed instantly. Kurapika kills some of them, but then like midway through, he's like, these guys are all just homies. And like, there was a part where I was like, why are these guys the villains? They're homies. I like them. And then I remembered the fucking genocide they did for some petty cash. And I'm like, oh, that okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, there's one part where they, like, kill some people in front of Gon because, like, they've captured him. Like, they capture Gon and kill him, like, 10 times, but always let him go because they're like, these people are homies, too. Like, these kids are homies to me. We don't need to kill them. But they kill someone in front of Gon, and Gon is like, how dare you just kill that person, take their life, and feel nothing? You people are trash. And I'm like, buddy, do you remember the Hunter exam?
Yeah.
Did you see the people fall on spikes in front of you? It's incredible. Anyway, so the next thing that they do is they play Yu-Gi-Oh! In a weird game that transports you.
So, again, Gon's motivation is still to find his dad. Now, you might accurately be deducing that there's not been a lot of dad finding happening. So basically, as soon as he gets his new best friend Killua, he kind of forgets that he has a dad, and they do a bunch of goofy shit. Anyway, this Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing is basically the start of the dad hunt again.
Yeah, because they got like a clue from the dad that was like, if you want to find me, you have to beat this video game. And it's this video game called Greed Island that apparently they only made like 100 copies of. It cost $8 billion to buy it. And so they, in the background of Kurapika trying to kill these villains,
they're just trying to get a video game. And fucking, it's hysterical.
It's amazing. And like I said before, when they find out that they can't afford it, like it's on auction at like the criminal auction, and someone else buys it, they're like, wait a minute, let's just ask him if we can play. And the guy's like, do you have Nen? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, oh, cool. Go ahead. And turns out this video game is actually a sort of like Nen-infused disc that when you like fucking pick up the PlayStation controller, transports you to another world.
Where you play Yu-Gi-Oh! It's this card-based game that's also basically a battle royale. Like, the whole point of this Greed Island is you need to collect 100 of the cards. The cards give you powers, but also you don't want to use the cards because then you consume them, and you can only leave and win Greed Island if you collect an entire Trapper Keeper's worth of these fucking things. To be clear, the cards are like basically like weirdly digital. Like when you touch them, they go in your inventory like it's an MMO, but they still have a Trapper Keeper. Like it's very important that everyone just has Trapper Keepers. It's an infuriating, dumb thing.
And you might be thinking, like, how do you get these cards? Do you, like, win them in a card game? Like, no. There's no game. The game is get the things. And, like, the cards have powers, but they don't have powers in the sense that, like, it's, like, draw 3 more cards. It's, like, a power that, like, this card that has a sword on it can transform back into a sword. And you get a card by, like, finding a thing and being like, oh, I have this now, and then it turns into a card with a picture of that on it.
It's insane. And the game, how do you get the cards? The game is capitalism. It's to amass power and murder each other and take their cards. This is an island full of people who are just looking to kill each other so they can get these digital cards. And I don't even remember what you get when you win the game.
So the MacGuffin is if you win the game, which no one has ever done prior, you get to take 3 cards back with you to the real world. And then they retain the magical power that they have. Like, one of the cards is an angel who blows on you and heals any injury. Like, you could take that into real life and just have an angel. And the angel's just like, yo, let me know when you want me to blow on someone. Just whenever, man.
This is where I want to address the best reveal about the video game that they're in. Is, in fact, not a video game.
Not at all.
It's just a fucking place. There's just like this island that you get transported to. So it's very much real life. Everything about it's real. If you die in real life, you definitely die in real life because it's real life, bitch.
Yeah. Like, we learned this, the way we are told this is the Phantom Troop, these villains, are also in Greed Island. They didn't have to fucking get any money because they just stole it because they're criminals. They stole the game. And anyway, they go to Greed Island, and the reason they're doing so is because their leader has had his nen sealed by Kurapika. He has put this like curse on him. You can't use any nen or else you're going to die immediately. And so they're trying to find some person who has the power to undo nen. And they're like, Greed Island seems like a good place to look. And while they're there, they're sort of just like doing reconnaissance, and this dude is like, so this is definitely a real place.
Yeah, it's like it takes them no brain power to deduce this. Also, they get there by boat, right? They just show up on a boat.
This is the fucking thing that happens next. They're like, this is a real place, so we don't need this stupid fucking video game. So they play the card that lets them leave, and then they're like, now to go back to Greed Island, this time on a boat. And they go on a boat and get to the shore, and this dude meets them, and he's like, hey guys, so you got here by boat? And they're like, yeah. He's like, nah, it's not allowed. That's against the rules. And they're like, oh, you don't say. He's like, yeah, no, it's definitely against the rules. I got to play this card that kicks you out. And he does. They leave. He destroys the boat. And they just play the video game again. And like that's one of the things I love about the Phantom Troop. They're like these evil, like, human trafficking homies that all hang out in a big warehouse together and sort of bicker and like play cards. But they're so chill with like wasting literal months doing nothing.
Yeah, and the final thing that happens at Greed Island is they basically, it's not basically, they play dodgeball. They have to play dodgeball against the main dude who runs Greed Island, whose nen power
is dodgeball.
Yeah, he has nen infused dodgeball, and he just spikes it and you die. So they have to play dodgeball against him and like two other, I don't know, some other people.
No, his other nen power is that he can split his aura and make dummies, and so they're the rest of his team. So every time one of his dummies is eliminated, the aura just shoots back into him, and he gets that much stronger. It's so stupid. And another thing that's important to note is that a lot of the NPC characters in Greed Island are sort of nen puppets. They're not real people. They're on a script. But some of them, like this guy, are just regular guys who spend literally the rest of their lives on this island doing a pantomime for this weird game.
And this is where we get into the dad lore. And why are they doing this? It's because Ging, Gon's father, basically told the dodgeball guy that's like, hey, you're convicted of a horrible crime. You're going to be punished either by like prison or death or something bad. But what if instead of going to jail, you act as the final boss for this complicated game that I've decided I'm making, and I put you on an island. You do that for the rest of your life until you die. Is that preferable to you? And that guy is, of course, super into it. It's his favorite thing.
It's incredible because, like, this guy is protecting a single card. Like that's his entire purpose, is to protect one card. And like the way you gotta beat it is you have to like get a group of 15 people, which is difficult to do because everyone's fighting each other to get the cards. So you have to be a really good homie like Gon is. And then you have 15 people, they go to this gym and there's like 15 criminals, each of whom is a master at one sport, and you have to beat each of them. And hilariously, like they beat 3 guys. And the dodgeball guy is like, okay, I can see that you're going to beat everyone. We're playing dodgeball now. That's the only thing that matters.
Yep.
And the rest of it just gets skipped.
Yeah. This is the Togashi special, in my opinion, is he establishes like too many people that have too many involved abilities, and then he just fucking papers over it because he's like, people don't like that. But he's totally fine with people listening to exposition from a narrator about how a game works for an hour, for an actual hour.
It's amazing. Like, one of the things about this show that again makes it so hard to explain is how absolutely and like mind-blowingly weird it is. Like, we have, again, as we said, we have 4 main characters, 2 of which just aren't in most of the arcs, and there are these classic shonen anime buildups of like villains with powers, and you see the power and you like are like, holy shit, I can immediately in my goddamn imagination imagine how that would interact with the powers of the protagonists and what an interesting fight that would be. And like, fucking no, not at all. It never happens. And you're like, oh, a card game arc. Oh, cool. They're going to actually play a card game. No, the cards are fucking irrelevant. They get like 98 cards off screen. And the only thing that matters is getting the dodgeball one and then the one they have to beat up a bad guy for. And like, they'll show people with incredible abilities that are very creative and interesting. And they'll explain all the rules. And you'll be like, oh my God, I can't wait to see it in action. And it's like, nobody, that was it in action. You just saw the whole thing.
There was a Conan O'Brien sketch called like Frankenstein Wastes a Minute of Your Time. Hunter x Hunter is, if you turn that into the best anime that's ever existed, that's what this show is. It's your time being wasted in fascinating and strange ways, but you don't get angry at it because it's so bizarre.
And what's more bizarre than the next arc, as soon as our heroes win, Gon uses some like tricksy bullshit to have the card that he can bring into real life is a card that automatically teleports you to a person that is in your Trapper Keeper. And he sees in his Trapper Keeper that he has a name that's Jing, his father, but spelled differently. It's like an anagram. And he's like, that's definitely my dad. And names only get in your Trapper Keeper if you meet the person on Greed Island. So my dad must have brought me here as a baby. Oh, shit. So I'm going to use the teleport to my dad. And he teleports instead to his dad's homie, who's like, hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm in the middle of the next arc. You're part of it now, too.
And this arc is where the tone changes dramatically, and it is dark already. There's people getting murdered left and right. There's horrible deaths happening all the time. We didn't go into it, but the fight that Gon gets into at the end of the Greed Island arc, we don't need to go into the mechanics of it, involves him having one of his arms blown the fuck off. He finishes the fight with a severed stump because his arm got and exploded off. So again, this show is not shy from violence in any way. That said,
there's also a clown who shows up and like they see his dick on Greed Island and like the like shit's fucked. But then we go to the Chimera Ant arc, which is an arc that is literally, I think, about 80 episodes, and it tells the story of a big ant learning to become a gamer.
So, how this all gets started is that, so the person they teleport to, Kite, who is Ying's homie, he's on a mission, and that mission is needs to eradicate these things called Chimera Ants because they came from what is referred to as the Dark Continent, which is basically, you know the part on a old-timey map where it has sea monsters and shit?
Yeah, that's where it is.
Imagine those sea monsters are very real, and also sometimes they're ants.
And also, like, the part of that map is, like, way bigger than the part that the people live on. But anyway, these ants show up, and these ants, their deal is the queen eats stuff and then gives birth to ants that have the properties of what got et. And the crisis is the queen that's shown up now, usually the queen of a chimera ant colony is like the size of an ant. No, this one's person size. So it's not long till she's eating people, and it's like, oh, these people taste good as hell. And so the children that she's pumping out have fucking human intelligence and love killing. And they're in this like sort of weird like nature preserve country that is like a militant like Luddite nation. So there's no like internet to explain like, hey, homies, just so you know, weird ants are eating all of us. So it's just getting to like a fever pitch before anyone can stop it. So we can't spend a lot of time on this because, again, it's fucking endless. So basically what happens is we have like 50 episodes of these ants just committing genocide on screen. We have a bunch of characters that we met previously who are like, oh, it's those people. I love them. They show up and get eaten immediately. The ants get stronger when they learn Nen. They're better at Nen than humans. We get a bunch of hunters from the Hunter Association who join Gon and Killua in their like fight to stop the ants. Kite gets fucking murked instantly by like one of the royal guards, who are these 3 mega ants that are made to protect the king ant, who is the last ant to be born. Kite gets fucking destroyed. It's no contest even, and Gon and Killua have to run away. Gon is furious because Kite and his dad were homies, so being homies with Kite is like being homies with his dad, and now he's dead and he hates that. Finally, the fucking king gets born, and the king is like, I'm gonna take over the world, but first I gotta play a bunch of board games.
Yeah, the king is good at everything he does, and in addition to being incredibly strong, he's also like, oh, I want to be good at chess. Although it's not chess, it's a made-up game that Togashi makes, which is like, imagine it's a combination of Go, chess, and Dota.
And checkers. And Dota.
Yeah, it's just this weird fake game. To this day, I don't understand.
It's called Gunji.
I don't understand why he didn't just make it a real game.
Well, he does have the king play chess and Go masters, but the thing is, after like 2 games of this game he's literally never heard of before, he can beat them so easily that it's like, this is pointless, and he just cuts their head off with his tail. And so he has to have the Gunji champion, and this is the one thing that the rules never get explained for.
All it's established that it's very complicated, and the person who's the best at this is a girl that has a permanent cold and a runny nose. And this is where the king learns to be a gamer. He realizes that the most important thing in life is that you must game.
Yeah, so he meets a gamer girl, and she owns him at gaming. And he's like, this is a little weird. I'm having trouble beating this gamer girl, but I'm sure I'll get it. And of course he doesn't get it. No, she's a master. She's smarter than him, and he learns empathy. And much to the chagrin of his royal guards, who want him to be a fucking tyrant who just rules over everything with an iron fist. But no, he's a gamer now. There's no stopping the gaming impulse. A lot of things happens with the ants. There's like a ton of characters that get introduced. There is a scene that, I say a scene, our heroes storm sort of the palace that the king is staying at. And we get something like 7 episodes that cover 3 minutes of elapsed time. And this is where the narrator really earns his fucking paycheck. Because what will happen is we'll have like 7 minutes of seeing like Gon and Killua turn a corner and see a bad guy. And then the fucking narrator will explain the goddamn novel-length explanation of the thought processes that were going through all their heads. It's absolutely astounding. The point ends up being Gon finds out that Kite cannot be brought back to life. There was some indication that maybe he could be, but he cannot. And he decides to call on all of the Nen he will ever have for one moment. And he becomes a huge adult who still wears hot pants and fucking murders the goddamn royal guard ant so easily. He just smashes her head into mush. Killua, by the way, is watching, absolutely devastated because his husband is basically turning into a murder machine who is also committing suicide, basically. And then the king gets killed because he gets caught in an atomic bomb and he gets radiation poisoning.
Yeah, this fight is incredible because basically the head of the Hunter Association, which we don't even care about, is like this powerful older guy who is sent on this mission because he's the strongest and he's bored and he wants to fight something strong. The king is way stronger than him and he's getting fucking murked by the king nonstop. And when it looks like he's really going to lose, he's like, I was kind of hoping I didn't have to do this. And he jams one of his fingers into his heart, and he detonates the nuke that was in his tummy. they knew, they were like, just in case this ant shit goes bad, what we're going to do is we're going to put a nuke in you, and if things go bad, just, activate. And he gets blown up. Everyone gets nuked. The narrator is very funny in this because it's like, this nuke, so there are, the king is very strong, and he is incredibly powerful. But this bomb that just happened, motherfucker, there's 3,000 of them. We are up to our ass in this bomb. The ants never stood a chance.
Yeah, and he was like, people implant this bomb into their tummies constantly. It was made illegal because 5 million people got killed by them. But no one took them out of the tummies of the people who already had them. So they're just out there. Oops. So the royal guards find the king's, fucking charcoal body, and they're like, the king gets stronger when he eats people. Let's let him eat most of us. And he comes back to life but doesn't have any memory. So he doesn't have any memory of this gamer girl that taught him empathy. And so they're like, maybe now the king won't care about people and will just commit genocide like we want. No, pretty much like a minute later, someone says, hey, you remember when you played against that gamer girl? And he's like, oh shit, I'm actually a good guy now because I love gamer girls. And then he goes to play one final game of Gungi with her because he's like, I definitely also have radiation poisoning. I didn't come back to life. I'm dead now. My 2 royal guards just fucking keeled over. They're dead. And he fucking has a good time being a gamer. And that's the end. Gon is also a weird husk man made of ash because he used up all of his power. Oops.
Yep. You might be wondering, where was Hisoka in all this? The reason Hisoka is not there is he didn't get the email. The start of the next art is there's an election and some politics, and Hisoka is just like loudly opining that like, I haven't fought anyone strong lately. And they're like, why didn't you do the ant mission? That shit was crazy. And he was like, oh, I didn't see that email. Anyway.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't hear about that. It would have been cool. This arc is sort of like, it's the last arc in the anime, so you're like, oh, this must be like the climax. Not at all. This is a filler arc meant to act as connective tissue, and it's very weird to end on it because the whole thing is like Killua has a sister who has a very strange and complicated power that involves she can grant wishes sometimes, but it's very difficult to get to the wish granting time. And he just does some shit and he gets to Gon and he's like, I wish that Gon was healed. Gon's healed. He talks to his dad, who is very cold and awkward, and then the anime is over. Excellent.
You might think that's a really unfulfilling ending, and you would be so correct. That is the weirdest way to end.
Yup.
You have this climactic battle with evil bugs, and then there's paperwork for 40 episodes, and then they're in a tree, and then credits roll.
Like the fucking Hunter election, there's like all this politicking, and there's like this one guy who has this like sunny, smiley face, but is such like an evil schemer behind it, and he's like playing everyone. No one knows his game, and he wins the election through like scheming, and everyone's like, no, I hate that this guy won the election. And this woman who was trying to stop him the whole time is like, I can't believe I was defeated. And he's like, anyway, I don't really give a shit about being the chairman. You. And he like the woman who was trying to stop him, like, you can be chairman, actually. I resign. And it's like, what the fuck was I watching all that for?
Yep. Yeah, Frankenstein wasted a moment of your time.
But, don't worry. If you want to know more of the story, just read the manga. There's more manga, and it will take you all the way to like 20 chapters into the future. Because, oopsie, Togashi doesn't draw this shit ever. There is a website called hiatus.github.io that shows the chart of Hunter x Hunter's hiatus. And motherfucker, there has not been a year where he has made over half his deadlines since 2005. In 2015, he didn't write the manga at all. It just didn't happen.
He took a nap.
He just didn't do it.
He took a nap.
And why is that, Joe?
The reason being is manga artists get just friggin' worked like Hebrew slaves. Like it's just like they are just ground into a pulp to produce cartoons about fighting with good hair. I want to read this letter he wrote at the end of Yu Hakusho, which is quite frankly, I don't know. It scrapes your soul to hear what he's writing about. Here's the letter he wrote. This is the end of Yu Hakusho, which is a very popular manga and also a very popular anime. He writes, if I'm honest, I'm feeling a great relief and pleasure at the thought of finally being able to finish Yu Hakusho. It's not that I've lost all emotional attachment to the work, but I feel that my stress levels have been greatly surpassed my will to work. The 6 months leading up to the concluding chapter felt awfully long to me. To tell the truth, it had been decided that Yu Hakusho was going to end in December of '93, or rather, this was a decision that I had forced on the editorial staff. There were many reasons for this, in all about 50 big and small ones, but in broad strokes, here were the major reasons. Number 1, my body. Number 2, thoughts I had about what it means to draw manga. Number 3, desire to do things other than work. Point 3 is out of the question for a professional manga writer. Basically, I wanted to indulge my hobbies, rest, and sleep as much as I could. Most of my 50 reasons fall into this category. Point 1 was caused by point 3 not being fulfilled for too long. From when Yu Hakusho began serialization up to the start of the Dark Tournament, I had half a day off every week in which I caught up on sleep. Other than that, all I had time for were occasional naps, and I indulged my hobbies by sleeping less. For a while, I quite enjoyed this, but my HP, as they say in RPGs, was gradually but surely falling. And around the time that I wrote a 31-page one-shot and simultaneously had to do color pages, my heart began to hurt every time I went without sleep, and then it began to hurt more and more often.
Holy fucking shit.
This was when I seriously started to think about the pace of production for manga. I thought, I probably won't be able to keep regular hours, but if I sleep as much as I want to, when I want to, how much would I be able to produce? I tried it out. I immediately began to fall behind in my schedule, but I tried to get some sleep every night. Around this time, my feelings about writing manga as a profession began to change. I don't want to die from overwork. If I die, I want it to be while I'm having fun, or when I'm drawing manga for fun.
Holy fucking shit.
Color pages are scary. One-shots are scary. I also began to use some time before going to bed to relieve stress.
That means jerking it.
Yeah, it also might just mean he, stared at his hands. I fell even more behind, and at the point where Sensei and Yusuke were fighting, this reached its peak. So, this goes on to talk about specific things that happened in the manga, but the gist of it is, he got many letters that the end of this manga felt rushed and was of poor quality. And the conceit is, he's like, yes, it was poorly rushed. I'm glad it's over because I will legit kill myself if I have to keep doing it. This is hateful to me.
I want to just point out the final line of this letter, which is, in conclusion, I ended Yu Yu Hakusho because of my own selfishness. I'm sorry. It's like, holy shit. You are in a slave labor profession that is literally killing you. You are getting a half a day of sleep a week. And your thoughts on, I need to take a break is I can't believe how selfish I'm being.
Right. And
oh boy.
Togashi is also not a single man. He's married. So there's also a relationship here, which obviously is being ignored.
And another thing to note is who he's married to. He's married to the fucking author of Sailor Moon.
Which means their marriage is probably two people sitting at desks next to each other, not talking as their hearts hurt as they work.
It's one of those things where it's easy to make fun of Togashi for, from 2006 to 2019, he's written maybe fucking 50 chapters of manga, which means that he spent over 2/3 of his time just on hiatus. But when you think about it, it's one, doing this job fucking kills you. There's this little note from Shonen Jump. This was published as a fun look into the life of a manga artist, is the joy of being able to sit on the toilet or in a chair. The interesting thing about the body is that it won't poop when you're bedridden. The worst part of back pain is that it's only after it gets a little better that you can go to the hospital. And when your pain is on a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10, you can't move your body, even a centimeter, throughout the night. And it's holy shit, this is what writing manga does to you. And also, both you and your wife have created fucking multi-million-dollar properties. You are for sure rich as shit. Just don't do it.
In this hiatus that he's on, he is I don't want to say the only, he's one of the few manga artists that is able to give himself time like this. And the only reason he's able to do this is because he's such a heavy hitter and he's the Michael Jordan of Japanese comics.
Yeah.
A lot of the artists who work in this industry do not have this luxury. They just keep at it. All that insane shit about I can't poop because I'm a stress monster. That's just how it is for a lot of people. That's just what it is.
Yeah. Ichiro Oda, the author of One Piece, as I say, the 12th best-selling fiction author of all time in any medium, definitely the most fucking famous manga author and the most successful. There was a article from 2015 where he is sort of talking about his lifestyle and, the future of One Piece. And he's like, I had some health problems before, but I understand that it's important for me to keep my body healthy so that I can keep creating One Piece. That's why I've changed my workload so that I'm able to sleep 3 hours a night. And it's what? I'm sorry, what? Like, I cannot fathom.
I got, I think, like 6 hours of sleep last night because I was up too late laughing at I Think You Should Leave, and I felt hungover. I felt like shit. I was like, I should call in sick today. I feel like garbage because I'm hungover from laughing at the fucking skeleton song sketch.
It's incredible because, like, knowing that and knowing how fucking human bodies work, it's astounding to see that, like, a lot of Hunter x Hunter fans think that Togashi is, like, making up his back pain and is just lazy. And the thing is, like, even if that's true, like, that's fine because, like, this industry, like, is a death grinder. Like, it is impossible to live healthy and also support yourself through manga having to do it every week. Like, you just can't do it. And it's the same thing for anime. Like, the Japanese animators will talk openly about, like, I don't make very much money. I don't get to do anything else. I don't get any recognition. I don't have any job security for doing a good job, and I have to do it 17, 18 hours a day. It's awful. And it feels really kind of gross to have this huge popular nerd hobby that is literally just the product of, like, inhuman labor exploitation.
Right, and the other huge nerd hobby, video games, have the same problem too. There's been countless articles about crunch time, which is basically if you don't know, apologies if you do, as a game is nearing release and it's not done, developers basically get worked to the bone and work 18 hours a day to finish a game on time, and during this time they're basically made into zombies. And this is, if you are in any other industry and you're doing this to meet deadlines, this is a total failure of project management. This is quite literally just a total failure of management. But
this is why you have managers, to manage this.
Correct. But in the video game industry, it's like just an assumed injustice. It is a thing that is like, the creepiest people are the people who talk about it like it's a badge of honor, like there's something honorable about. And to be clear, they make it sound like they're making a dream come alive, but what it actually means is that there's like a guy who's spending 20 hours a day like rendering horse testicles for Red Dead Redemption 2, and then he just like can't go home to see his wife. And then he gets fired and he doesn't get any severance pay.
Yeah, and they don't put him in the credits, and they actually do put him in the credits, but instead of it being like tactical animator, it's like, this guy sucks ass, the following people suck ass and should get doxxed. And then all the people are like, will do, sir, and dox him.
Right.
So, like, I remember I saw, I don't know who it was that said this or who they were talking about, but it was a manga author who was sort of like, who was like 60 years old or something, and he was just reminiscing about his career, and he's like, I remember when I first started off, and like so and so was just the best thing in the magazine, and he always had better art than me, and he always got more chapters done than me, and he would always make fun of me for being, you know, lazy and unskilled compared to him. Well, he died when he was 45 from overwork, and I'm still alive, so fuck him.
The part in Hunter x Hunter where Gon gives up all his potential Nen to do one thing, that is literally Togashi talking about finishing Yu Hakusho. That is what he's talking about. That is when he has unbelievable back pain and he can barely move and he's ruining his life to finish it. That is biography there.
And the magical wish that restores his power is him going to the editors of Shonen Jump, and it's like, is it okay if I take like multiple years off at a time? And they're like, yeah, sure. And he's like, oh, I'm healed. Except unlike Gon, he still has crippling fucking back pain. Oopsie.
And this also sort of relates to something that's unique about manga as an industry, and it's certainly not the case here in America for comics or just intellectual property in general. Whereas if you had like a director or sort of an auteur behind a property like this, and they like were like, hey, look, I need to go and take 6 months off in order to do this, what Disney or a huge corporation would do would be like, we're taking the project from you. You're fired. We're going to have James Gunn do it or whatever. That doesn't happen for manga. The artists have sole like ownership over this thing, which is a unique concept. Imagine that if Batman was owned by one guy, and there could not be new Batman unless that guy was like, I'm going to do it.
And there are definitely huge benefits to this because, like, if you've ever tried to get into superhero comics in America, that's fucking impenetrable and terrible because you have no idea what one is good because they're all written by different people and each character has like 6 series and they've always being rebooted and there's always like different universes and it's impossible to know what's what unless you sort of like read them all or like you get recommended a specific one and then like it's very hard to branch out from that. And sometimes you're like, well, I really like that series, but it like doesn't keep going because it got replaced by a different author and then that one's and he's a bad author and you don't like that. But
like, if you tell me to read something and then specifically also add the criteria that, like, you should read Daredevil, but only the Frank Miller arc, like, that's too much for me. Fuck that. I hate it already. There's a condition here that I don't care about.
Like, absolutely terrible. And, like, the fact that I could read that old arc and be like, man, I like Daredevil. I'm going to get the new issue. It's like, oh, no. Oh, man, definitely nothing that happened is still canon, and it's definitely different, and it sucks now. Or you're going to think that the thing you just read sucks. But, like, with One Piece, it's all by Oda. And he's written the entire fucking thing. There's no sort of, like, adventures of Usopp. It's like, it is only One Piece. If someone's like, I think I'm getting into One Piece, how am I going to get into that? It's like, oh, read chapter 1 and then go from there. It's like, it's very simple and like the story feels a lot more grounded because of that, because there's only one person who's building out this universe and filling it with weirdos. And so everything has a sort of handcrafted and very intentional place, at least in manga that's good. And you're like, oh shit, this is definitely better than American comics that are done by fools, and as a result, it's shitty. Well, American comics authors get to see their families, so who's to say what's right?
Right, they do. And there isn't an equivalent for video games either. The closest thing I can think of is like, and he got fired from Konami, but Hideo Kojima was probably like the sole video game developer and sort of vision guy that would be on a project and it's like, this is a Hideo Kojima game. Like, this is his vision. That doesn't happen in gaming anymore. Like, there are big names that get attached to games, but the idea that it is a singular vision of one person, that's not how it works. The industry does not work like that. Everything is made like Marvel movies now, where it's a huge conglomerate, it's a huge mishmash of, you get a famous director, you get a bunch of famous labor, you make everything happen because you're doing this by committee. It's not a single director's vision.
Yeah. And I think that's a good place to wrap this up because it really throws into relief how special Hunter x Hunter is, because Hunter x Hunter consistently makes decisions that no one who is looking at the creative process from like a practical standpoint would ever do. Like, if you're looking at creating your manga for the purposes of like what is going to be commercially successful, what is going to be what people want, like what are people expecting, none of that ever fucking happens. Like there's in the fucking York New City arc with the Phantom Troop, Hisoka, by the way, is in the troop. He's one of them. But actually, he doesn't actually give a shit. He's not a homie. The only reason he's in there is because he wants to fight the leader because he loves fighting strong guys. And throughout this entire arc, he's like scheming and plotting, how can I get in a one-on-one fight with Crollo, the leader? How can I make this happen without getting found out as a traitor? And finally, at the very end, he engineers a situation where he and Crollo are alone in like a desert where anime fights happen. And he is so ready. He is sporting a full chub. And Crollo is just like, I'd love to fight you, but Kurapika just sealed my nen, so I have no magical powers. And Hisoka's just like, oh, and leaves.
As a writer, how could you blue ball yourself like that? It's insane.
And like, if anyone else was involved in this, they'd be like, dude, like, no, make them fight. Like, that's what people want. They want to see a fight. This is a fighting manga. They have powers. Make them fight. And he's just like, I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to take 2 years until I write the next chapter. Fuck you. What are you going to do? I have Sailor Moon money.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for listening to our extra long, supersized episode about Hunter x Hunter.
And the labor behind it, which makes people weep blood and render themselves unable to shit. And it is so painful that they write about it and it gets published in the same, right next to the comics.
There are some authors who was like, oh boy, thank you for supporting me. I'm having so much fun writing my story. It's a dream come true. Thanks. And then he's just like, sometimes I think death would be easier. Anyway, I'm an anime sicko. I'm Tom Harrison.
I'm Joe Anderson.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at Sharia Uncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.